Welcome back. This is Soarin Scratchin. We've been away for a little while, but we are back now. We have something very special for you tonight.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. A little bit of Poe. Gets me in the mood. Especially for tonight's topic, which is what exactly, Dave?
This is 10 scary locations. They can be maybe haunted, maybe just something in your mind. Something a little bit eerie about some of these places. A couple of atrocities, maybe? But that all makes for the better haunted stories. So sit back and enjoy. Yes, as I said before, we are back. I am the Eagle fan.
And I am Evil Chicken, and it's lovely to see you again. It's been a while. We should get out more.
Yes, we should. Speaking of that, this list might even lead to that because some of these locations might be, dare I say, road trips.
Oh, yes, you
A little
bet.
food for thought. With our first item on this list of our top 10, it's not even top 10, let's just call it 10 scary locations
Yeah.
because we might find more.
Oh, good
Up
Lord.
first will be Evil Chicken. Take it away.
Oh, you're too good to me, sir. That you be. So, lo and behold, our first possible location tonight. Now, we're located on the eastern seaboard. We're here in South Jersey. However, this first location that I'm thinking takes us all the way out to Colorado. Little place called the Stanley Hotel. Now, the Stanley Hotel has an interesting kind of history. There was a guy in 1974, he and his wife stopped there, and the guy had this crazy dream about his son being chased down the hallways of this hotel by some sort of a sentient fire hose, if you will. It creeped him out so much that he woke up and he went out onto the balcony and he smoked a cigarette. And by the time that cigarette was done, he had the basis for his third book called The Shining. Room 217. Now then, this is the place where The Shining is based off of. It's just an interesting place. In room 217, it has some history itself. There was a gas explosion in that room, if I'm not mistaken, sometime in the 20s. And there was one of the housekeepers was hurt. She survived the explosion and everything, but there's still that kind of ambient energy, if you believe in that sort of thing. But the Stanley Hotel is number one on my list. Well, actually, it's not really a list, but if you
That ties into a great movie.
there's a movie?
Yeah, that ties into a great movie. I like it. That is a very,
give me
very
that.
intriguing place. In fact, it sounds a little bit familiar. Almost like we talked about it before. Maybe on another list.
God. Perhaps my memory is completely gone. No, I remember now. You know what? You're right.
It was our domestic locations.
Goodness gracious.
That was just in the area of where we were discussing. I don't think it was directly just there, but
Okay. I'm feeling better now.
okay.
Dave, what do you have on your next?
What
Spooky
do I
list?
have? That is a wonderful question. We are going to Italy. We are going just off the coast of Venice to an island that is, and forgive me if I am saying this incorrectly here, Lazaretto Nuovo. It's also at times referred to as the Plague Islands or the Vampire Graveyard. This goes back to 2009. There were some archaeologists from the University of Florence when they unearthed a female vampire skull. How did they know this was a female vampire, you ask? That is a great question. There was a brick shoved into her mouth. Odd, you may say, but apparently back then there were people who noticed that people who were buried would sometimes start to have the shroud that wrapped them start to dissolve. And of course, as be the case back in those times, some very interesting tales were thought up as to what might be the cause. They believe this was a vampire sucking the energy out of that shroud and nourishing itself. So, to prevent this, what they would do is remove the rest of the shroud and shove something inedible, in most cases a brick, into the mouth of said vampire. So they found this, and they would find more in this island here. Apparently, this was an island that they had actually contained bodies of plague victims as well, hence the Plague Islands. They would actually do mass burials out there of those victims. Now, the island is rumored to be haunted by several apparitions that have been spotted roaming these hallowed grounds. So the question is, do you want to go see these apparitions? And also maybe see Venice a little bit too while you're there.
Ah, Venice. Wow, I didn't know that you could brick vampires. That's kind of wild.
Apparently that's how
Whoa,
you kill them when they're dead.
it's the
Or
only
keep
way
them
to be
killed.
sure.
Yes. I
Those
forgot to
energy
mention in
suckers
there it was just the bacteria that was in the victim's mouth that was actually causing
yes,
the shroud to disintegrate.
to get
They
nasty,
weren't
sure.
actually sucking energy from the shroud. But
How do you know?
that makes for a better story that way.
Well, it definitely makes for a story. No, that's wow. Wow. Goodness gracious.
So,
Ah, I
what
guess
do
the
you have
ball is in
next,
my
good
court.
sir?
Well, one mass grave deserves another. I'd like to talk about a place right here in southern New Jersey. The place is called Finn's Point, a natural offshoot from Fort Mott State Park. You take a road all the way back, and there you will find an obelisk. And this obelisk it's about 85 feet tall, and it marks about 2,700 people who are buried there. They died right off the coast because of illness or sickness or mistreatment or what have you. It's an interesting place, and it's a national military cemetery, and it's definitely worth a visit. It's very peaceful, uh, very somber, but at the same time, there's also a section for Union soldiers as well. It's interesting to check out and to see, and to know that just offshore, at another one of my places on this list tonight, is where they perished, and Finn's Point is where they ended up. So it's something to see. It's something to see. Also, for most recent or more recent history concerning Finn's Point, I don't know if you guys remember that the crazy guy that was going around killing people. There's so many to choose from, unfortunately, these days. But this was back. This is the same man that killed Versace um, down in Miami. Well, it turns out on his way down to Miami, he stopped at Finn's Point, and he unfortunately murdered the keeper of the cemetery, who worked for the National Park Service. Finn's Point, that might stick out in your memory as well, but um, so that's a sad sort of turn of events. Well, it's kind of a somber place anyway. That was in 1997 that murder took place. Anyway, Finn's Point, Salem County, New Jersey. Interesting place.
That sounds like that sounds like one of those road trip ideas. That is right
It
around the corner.
Literally, yes, most definitely.
Keep,
We could keep
keep
it
an eye
socially
out here.
distanced. I can get in your trunk. How you doing back there, George?
That
Good.
worked when we went to the concert. You were able to hear
You
okay,
see?
right?
Sure. The view was
So,
about the same.
hey, we got to see those trucks.
Hey, they were cool. I don't
But we
care
did
what you
get
say.
to listen to the concert, so that was good.
It
I'm
was a
sorry,
great show.
we've
You know
gotten
what?
derailed a little bit there.
Sorry, everyone. Please forgive us.
That brings me
Okay.
up next.
Yes, it does. What do you got, Dave?
We are staying out of the country. We're going over to Asia. We're going to South Korea. The Gunjeom Psychiatric Hospital. This building has been abandoned since the mid 1990s. The reasons have never been made clear, but the legends claim that the building was plagued by a series of unexplainable deaths. Additional rumors say those deaths were at the result of horrifying medical experiments performed by a homicidal doctor who would later flee to America. Hey, great, welcome here. Gotta love that. It is listed right now as one of South Korea's most haunted sites. It's a very popular spot for those adventure seekers out there looking to find that next little haunted boost or jolt of energy that they want, that little bit of fun, mystery, and dare I say, excitement.
Most
Go back and
intriguing.
bring up Mr. Evil Chicken and see what you have to say about that location. It's got to be,
Wow.
if there were truly those horrifying experiments and really bad deaths, you'd have to assume. Maybe. If there's a place that could be haunted, that sounds like a place that could be haunted.
Uh, you know what? The universe is a big place, Dave. And I'm not, I can't say I can explain everything. I am skeptical of a great many things. Um, but again, I'm also cautious. You know, I so um, interesting. I don't know. It's uh it's an interesting world we live in, an interesting universe, if you will.
Skepticism is not a
So,
bad thing.
but it also has I still have my toe in the door, which uh which tells you that I'm still chained to superstition myself to a certain degree.
Well,
But I digress. Enough about me.
let me adjust my statement. Skepticism is not a bad thing,
Sure.
as long as it's also accompanied by an open mind.
Look at you. That's very poetic, Dave. I
You
like
can
that.
you can say that I don't think that exists, but let me look for
Right.
more proof.
Exactly.
That's how science
I think that
would in itself work anyway. That you're not sure how
that's
something works, you
exactly
go
it.
out and find it.
Find it, test it, see if you can repeat it. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Makes complete sense. Makes complete sense. I think that most things you can, using Occam's razor, you can say to yourself, you know, this is it's an old building, it's settling. You could say, hey, you know what? Rats exist and infestations do. You know, you could say all kinds of things. You know, you explain away an awful lot. You know, but and I think that a lot of this depends on one's own belief, what you're bringing to the table. If you go out ghost hunting, chances are you're going to be looking for ghosts. But that being said, first a big place. That being said, one of the places that I'd like to tell you about now is goes hand in hand with Finn's Point, and that's Pea Patch Island or Fort Delaware. Now that is actually right off the coast of Fort Mott and Fort Delaware in Delaware. It was used as a Civil War prison, and for Confederate soldiers, surprise, surprise, this is the North. It's just it's a unique place. It's a literally a fortress that sits in the Delaware River, and it's shocking to me that I'll mention it to people, and they're like, "What? What's that? Where's that?" And it's right here in Jersey, and it's amazing to see the brick walls, the Star Fortress kind of uh, architecture that it has to you know, to make certain that any ships that are going past can't fire on it, or if they do fire on it, the cannonballs will be deflected or at least absorbed. All the big places have visited this place. When I say big places, I mean all the big paranormal investigators, ghost hunters, taps. They've all been there. They've all had different sort of experiences there. and it's a spooky kind of place. And Dave, make a nice road trip. I'm just saying, or rather, ferry boat trip. You do have to take a ferry, I think, from the Delaware side. It would be great. I think we could do that social distance.
I think it can happen.
I'll be on the
We
raft. It'll
we
be
have
fun.
face masks that we can wear.
See? Exactly.
I like
Ah,
these road trips you're coming up with.
oh, me? This is a, come on. I thought we were going to South Korea.
Oh, okay. We're all coming up with road trips. Perfect. I have been in this area all my life. I have never been to either of the two locations that Evil Chicken has mentioned here. I feel I
Brother
have
man, we
failed in
gotta
life.
go. No, no, baby. You're a winner. And we're going to be so much winning. We're going to go and check out these places. What you got next, Dave?
Next up, we're staying in Asia, actually. We're going to the little island known as Japan. This is a place called, and I might not be pronouncing this correctly, but that seems to be the theme of everything that I talk about. Himeji Castle. Something that people also call the Screaming Ghost's Well. Legend has it, many of these stories have to start out that way, legend has it, that in the early 17th century, a girl named Okiko served the lord of the Himeji Castle. It was said that she was guarding her master's 10 priceless gold plates. That was her task in life, apparently. During this time that she was guarding these plates, she actually started to have feelings for him and fell in love with him. But she knew that because of her status as a servant, there was no way she could ever actually make her feelings known. But then, at one point, she overheard some of the other servants. They were actually discussing and planning the murder of her master. Dismayed by this, she went to her master and told him of this. When word got back to those other servants that she had basically betrayed them, or in their mind, betrayed them, they went to the master and actually planted a different story. What they had done is they went and stole one of those 10 plates and convinced the master that she had stolen that plate. This angered him, and he took his revenge on her by having her killed. He then had her body thrown into the castle's well. Which actually, if you really think about it, looking back, that doesn't seem like the greatest plan there. But it's what he did. Had the body thrown into the well. Now, we'll have to go back to that whole legend has it again, but legend has it in this story that she did not rest. Her spirit came out every night, apparently between, this seems very specific, between 2 and 3 a.m. And she began screaming. What she was screaming is counting the plates. And she would count 1, 2, all the way up to 10. And did this every night. Apparently it kept the master from sleeping. So after several days of not being able to sleep, it was driving him crazy. And he decided to look farther into this apparent theft of the plates. When he had discovered that she didn't actually steal these plates, he was, again, legend has it, driven insane, and then was actually insane for the rest of his life. Now, they still say, to this day, that if you listen closely at night, you can still hear that screaming. This site, it's a 400-year-old castle, is actually in the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, or actually is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Looks like a really nice place to go to and see, regardless of this particular legend, but this just kind of adds a little bit to, you know, the story of going there, to what you
Wow.
might encounter.
Wow. Good grief. Wow, talk about tragic. Jeez, Dave.
So I didn't mean to bring us down
Wow.
here.
Holy cow. Jeez, thanks a lot, man. No, but definitely, I would definitely love to visit a UNESCO World Site like that, and probably between 2 and 3, because I'm weird. Whoa,
Well, hey,
good
I would like
lord.
to go there and find out. So
Definitely.
now,
Gosh,
I'm
sad
going to
story.
pass the
I feel
ball
bad
over to you
that.
now.
All right. Well, you know what? Since we were talking about haunted forts, uh, I got another one across the bridge. A friend of mine by the name of Albie told me about this, and we actually went. It's called Fort Mifflin. It's right over there in Philadelphia. It was a Revolutionary War fort, which is fascinating to see unto itself. Go for the history, stay for the ghosts. It's it's an interesting place because there's a couple of ghosts out there. One is supposedly a guy by the name of William Howe, but he's called the man without a face because I don't know exactly um, what the backstory is for it, but basically his ghost comes around walking around without a face. It's the faceless man. I'm sorry. Basically, he shows up where the casements were, where the prisoners were kept. I don't know what the significance of him not having a face is, though. Then there's a screaming woman. She was married to one of the officers there at the fort. Oh, God. She apparently hung herself after one of her daughters died. She's another one of the apparitions. Uh, I would highly recommend going, uh, not only for the history of the situation, but they also do these paranormal sort of investigations there. You can take part in. You can either bring your own equipment, and sometimes they provide it for you, depending on what's going on. They also have a spend the night with a ghost sort of theme. So, in other words, you can camp there all night and do whatever kind of investigations you'd like to at Fort Mifflin. It's right next to the Philadelphia International Airport, so you get some really cool shots of the planes as well. But I highly recommend it. It's an interesting place and kind of spooky, especially like in the Powder magazine, which is very silent, which is strange in itself. But highly recommend it. Have fun. Go. You're gonna have a good time.
I like it. You're coming up with a lot of local ones that we can go to for road trips.
This is true.
Not
This
saying
is
we can't
true.
go to the ones I'm coming up with, but yours will be a little bit easier.
This is
Much like the other local ones you've come up with, another one I've never been to.
oh,
What am I
it's awesome.
doing here? I am failing at this area here.
Ah,
Or my past did.
nice
My
and rocky.
future will not.
See, exactly.
It's all the
Every day's a
future.
new page. Fiddly dee.
Okay, this puts the ball in my court.
Nice,
What do
sir.
I
That it
have
does.
next, you say?
I'm
Well,
very
so
curious.
far, everything's been a lot of death and destruction with what I've been talking about, so why should I stop that theme?
Yeah, Dave, bring us down.
We are going to Mexico. We are going more specifically to Mexico City. The Temple of Death. There I go again. This is Templo Mayor, or Mayor. I Forgive me if I'm saying that completely incorrectly. This is something that dates back, not the temple. The temple dates back much farther than this. But back in 1978, there were electrical workers in Mexico City that while digging, they unearthed an 8-ton carving of the Aztec goddess Coyol Coyolxauhqui. Forgive me if I'm way off on that. I had to put up a pronunciation key for that. If you see the way it's spelled, I would have not come anywhere near that pronunciation. The city actually ended up doing a little bit of a controversial decision. They destroyed a huge section of the city to try to reveal what was underneath, to dig out what was underneath. They destroyed a bunch of colonial Spanish buildings. Now, while there were still people on both sides of whether or not they should do that, I think what they found was an amazing find. They found this Templo Mayor, the Great Temple, which dates back to the 14th century. It was an Aztec temple within an Aztec civilization. They were able to uncover even more than just this temple. They uncovered much of the remains of the civilization, including a recent excavation in the area that unearthed a tower that was made up of 60,000 skulls. I don't even want to think about what happened to get that tower created, but just thinking what kind of spirits might be in that area right now because of that. Unfortunately, things did not go well for the Aztecs because Cortez arrived in 1519 and he destroyed the Aztec civilization and covered the ruins until it was later unearthed in 1978. So that was several hundred years of just the past hidden for over 300 years. The good news is this is actually now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, I haven't heard of there actually being hauntings in the area, but just thinking of the depth of this, the altar within the temple is said to have had or been the center for many executions way back in the 1400s, 1500s.
Right.
So just those deaths alone. And then you think of the senseless deaths of the Aztecs when they were slaughtered by Cortez and his band. And then you think of, and who knows if these sacrifices and killings on the altar had anything to then do with that tower of 60,000 skulls. So thinking of all of that, while there's not any true sightings being reported, if there's a place that could potentially have some haunted history there, I would think this would be a place. And being a UNESCO site also makes it that much more intriguing just to go see as a trip to go actually see this place. But seeing a tower made out of skulls, that seems a little intriguing and creepy all at the same time.
Yes. Wow. Good Lord. You mentioned the skulls. It reminds me of the catacombs in Paris. That would be a cool place to visit. Again, these ornate skeletal structures all over the place. It's creepy. Holy cow, Dave! How big was that wall again?
That was I don't know how big the tower was. It just said that it was made out of 60,000 skulls.
60,000 skulls. Wow. Good Lord.
Okay, so we each have one left. So it's time for you, good sir. Let's see what you have before I give my last apparently depressing one, probably.
No. I mean, I think the topic itself sort of lends itself to being a little bit macabre.
Dark. There you go.
A little dark. One of the places that I enjoy concerning a little bit of darkness would be the Paranormal Museum in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Yet another local place, but worth your time. It's run by a lady, and she's done it for the last 21 years. A lady by the name of Kathy Kelly. And she is not only the curator of this museum, but she is also a professor of history. So she has a unique perspective. It's not just somebody saying, I commune with spirits. No, it's somebody who can give you the facts behind some of the things that you will see at her museum. And it's basically, as their website says, it's a rotating group of different things. There's There's art, there's items that some people believe are haunted, or items that have been attached to something. There's a spooky doll collection, which is very strange to me. Um, we were there, and while she's explaining the situation, she explained that this one doll likes to run around and make little vocalizations here and there. And I swear to you, and I'm not making this up, and you know I'm a skeptic, but there's like maybe a group of like 10 of us. And right next to it, within the group, it sounded like a little girl giggling. And we were like, shut up. But she said that that's the doll does that, which A is creepy, B, uh, against logic, C, creepy. So it, the place is worth a look-see. She keeps things, people bring her things, sometimes police departments, sometimes people that find Ouija boards in their houses and they don't want to have anything to do with them. She'll take them. She'll store them in her basement. She says she has quite a collection now. It's an interesting place in the universe and one that you should check out. It's fun, but it's not the corny kind of, terror behind the walls thing. It's shown through the lens of history, as opposed to uh, the lens of somebody who is more akin to presenting themselves as being close to the other world. Anyway, it's worth a shot. I highly recommend it. It's the Paranormal Museum there in Asbury Park.
That sounds intriguing. Now, I'm a little curious about people who would be afraid to use a Ouija board.
Oh,
I
I'm
can't
afraid
think
of
of anybody like that. It's made by Milton Bradley, man.
I, when you put it that way, how do you feel about Magic 8 Balls, Dave?
They're a waste of time.
It's of the devil. No, it's really not. So anyway, Dave,
Okay.
what do you got? It's
What
down
do
to
I
you,
have?
brother.
Our
Take us home, baby.
last location of the evening. We are going to Indonesia. This isn't necessarily a haunted place by any means, although based on what they do here, maybe it could be haunted. It's kind of a creepy place more than anything else. It's the Hanging Graves. This is in Londa, Indonesia. Next to Londa, or in Londa, hanging off the crevices on a cliff face in Londa, are coffins and the remains of an ethnic group that's known as the Torojans. Apparently, this is kind of a burial practice of theirs. There's caves that run by there, and they can be explored, and they used to be ancient burial sites. But these Torojans actually bury their ancestors in plain sight. They have them, if you look at the cliff face, many of them are kind of wrapped up. They look like they are sitting there looking at you. It's a little creepy, a little uncomfortable. The actual relatives will actually go up there and tend to their loved ones and keep them comfortable in their place of rest, change their bandages and their shrouds and everything else. You'll see some pictures of it here, and I'll be honest with you, it looks a little weird. But it's one of those things that the world is a big place. There's a lot of things out there that you can see, a lot of things you may have never seen before. This just looks like one of those places that you'd like to go just to be able to see, to say that you saw it. I don't know that there's any haunting or anything there, but again, you've got a bunch of dead people staring at you from a cliff. It probably doesn't take too much for you to think that there is a haunting there, if nothing else, just staring at those corpses will probably get your brain running on hyperdrive. Be a little
Oh my
extra
gosh, yeah.
sensitive to any noise you hear at night. What was that? Was that someone calling from the cliff? Hopefully not someone getting down from the cliff. We've seen movies that start like that.
Yeesh. Goodness gracious. Wow. That's Dave, I got to tell you, I really like your list. You have a certain international flair.
Thank you. I tried to go international because I thought maybe that would keep us from crossing streams with our lists.
Very wise. Very wise. How about that? Yeah, very cool. The thing is, a topic like this, you could really uh, go on and on. Uh, there's no um, there's no end to stuff like this. I think it's because of we're always looking for stories that suit our narrative, stories that not only comfort us but also kind of scare us a little. Something in the back of our in our minds, buried in our DNA, that fear, the idea that you know what, there's something out there, and for some reason it wants to get you.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it's fascinating.
it adds to the imagination.
Yes,
Makes it
yes,
makes it run a little wild. I like that. It can be fun. Now,
indeed,
with that said,
indeed.
maybe a little teaser spoiler. What do you think about doing maybe historical sites that are lesser known? Maybe do
Lesser
maybe
known historical site.
maybe we can do two different videos on that, a international and a local.
Dave, I find that fascinating. There's so many things
So,
around us that we just don't see. And yeah. Oh, it's funny you mention that. Now I've got like things popping up in my head. Yeah,
excellent.
Dave, I think this sounds interesting.
I think you need to keep an eye out for that because that might be on the way.
Sounds
So
good.
thank you to everybody out there that's watched us and got through this. We are
Yes.
Soarin and Scratchin. Please give us a little like and subscribe over there below, my friend, and leave us comments down below. Let us know places that you think that just
Please.
terrify the daylights out of you that we didn't mention
Yes,
might
please
be good
do.
places for us to look into. Let us know some other
Yes.
ideas too. We thank each and every one of you, and we will see you guys soon with other videos. I'm Eagle Fan.
I'm Evil Chicken.
Keep your eyes to the sky.
And your hands on the ground. See you next time.
We will see you next time.
Much love. Take care. Stay safe.